did it. They proved why Misaki is the ultimate waifu in a card game anime. Those crazy, wonderful bastards. So, yes. Okay, so this week we will be talking about something that I was afraid they might screw up on. I was afraid they'd make the whole thing seem a little heavy handed. They might really overplay kind of. I don't even really know. Just, I wasn't really certain if they could pull Misaki's sort of emotional conflict being the forefront. I wasn't sure if it could be done right. I really wasn't. But they actually pulled it off really well. And I thought it was emotional and felt genuine and heartfelt. And it really combined a lot of different factors. First thing I want to talk about before we really get into anything else is something that was right in front of our faces from episode 1, and that being Misaki's design. Now, in the original Vanguard, I felt like Misaki was sort of designed with a bit more of a sexiness in mind to the look. She definitely has a lot of feminine features that come through. Now, yes, the current version of Misaki is still attractive, but there's definitely more of an influence on the design of kind of making her seem a little bit angrier, a little bit more unapproachable, a little bit more tougher. She has a bit more messier hair. Her face looks like it is more suited to just have a genuine scowl on it all the time. There's definitely an emphasis on this idea that Misaki really isn't someone you'd necessarily want to be around. Like, yeah, as Miwa pointed out in episode 1, she's cute, but ultimately, like, that idea that she isn't someone with friends, she isn't someone who really talks to people, she isn't really someone approachable. Hell, her only real friend is literally someone who just hangs around her because Misaki stood up for her once. And that one time Misaki stood up for her, it actually kind of worked against her because that's what sort of made everyone think of her as a bit of a freak and kind of be afraid of her. That's a very great little scene because the usual way it's shown in these shows is, oh, you stood up for someone, so everyone's kind of gonna like you, that kind of thing. Like, no, here Misaki did the right thing and kind of got hurt for it. Like, in the long run. And the thing that was also really great about this episode, and it was sort of insinuated, it kind of hints that Misaki maybe kind of did a little bit of it to herself. As with all people in real life, we all do share a little bit of the blame in how we are perceived by the world. Now, I'm not saying that, oh, you need to necessarily change who you are or you are at fault for why you get bullied. Nothing like that. But at the end of the day, we choose how we want to be represented and how we go about relating to the real world and those around us is partially and in a lot of ways a very big factor of our own control. And Misaki, in a lot of ways, chose to feed into the idea that she was separated from everyone else. She was alone from everyone else. She had it worked out in her head that because she has her memory and because of what she's been through, she can't really connect to anyone. She can't really relate to other people. Until one day when a little blue pint-sized twerp just sort of walks up to her and is like, let's just have a card fight. This is so important for who Misaki is as a person and how her story arc is handled. Because, simply put, over the course of a 1 second thing, someone who isn't that far apart from herself basically sort of showed her yeah, you can get better, you just kind of gotta make that jump. Remember, Aichi put himself out there when he elected to fight Misaki. This was someone he didn't know, but he chose to do something and be different. And seeing sort of the side effects and the ripples caused by that choice is very nice. I also like that it creates this kindred spirit element between the two. She can sort of relate to him in a way she can't relate to other people. Like, she can look at him and be like, yeah, he's also an outcast. He's also someone who's separated. That idea of just kind of outcasts that sort of find each other, I really like it. And it's why I kind of like them as a couple. But also moving on, let's talk about the sort of aesthetic this episode went with. The episode sort of frames everything as if Aichi is trying to ask Misaki out, This is cute. I liked it quite a bit. I could have done without the best friend and being like, oh, this is so much like a romantic comedy or whatever the fuck she said. I don't know. I feel like if you haven't figured out what's going on here by that point, I don't want it to be spoon fed by a side character. But whatever, it's fine. Yeah, it was a cute little thing. The whole sort of thing with Kourin was nice. I do like that Kourin is the one who ultimately convinces Misaki to join the Cardfight Club. She's the one giving the forward momentum. Because, for starters, having our two female characters have things going on, not necessarily involving the main character. Yeah, Kourin's like, oh, I did it for Aichi, or she said I didn't do it for Aichi, whatever. She brought up Aichi a few times, that's the point. But ultimately, she is fascinated with Misaki. She is interested in this girl who has this ability and this power, and why isn't she taking advantage of it for Vanguard? And you see sort of that side of Kourin of being like all business, being straightforward. Kourin doesn't necessarily understand the emotional implications this has for Misaki. And that's a very interesting idea, and hopefully will play into things in the future as we learn more about Misaki and the rest Kourin and the rest of Ultra Rare. But no, just in general, I thought the whole thing was really good. I like how the point of this episode was about that idea of what it takes to break out of your shell, what it takes to take that risk that things won't go right, that things won't go wrong. The idea of the sort of mental barriers we put in our heads from letting ourselves evolve and change and get better. I thought it was done in a way that felt really earnest. I felt it was done in a way that I think a lot of people really can relate to, and I really did like it. I just think the emotion is handled really well. Like that scene where Misaki is like sort of reaching Aichi, like that idea that I want to dot 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 insert, rather you think it's meant to be an insinuation of romance, or if it is just a very basic, I want to be with friends, I want to be able to do stuff like that, I want to be different, I want to be better. But just that scene of everything holding her back, it's so minimalistic, it's so simple, but it does so much. I thought I was gonna fucking cry. Like, I'm not kidding. I mean, maybe it's because this is a character who I've liked for a very long time, but it's just so. It was just good. But yeah, what did you think of this episode? Did you like everything with Misaki? Do you think maybe it could be a little heavy-handed? Tell me that below. And as for the Vanguard question of the week, okay, we got to talk about Pentagonal Magus. Oh Jesus! Here is Quintuple Drive. Here is a clan literally based around stacking triggers, and you just gonna get all the trigger sacks. Do you think this is a little worrisome that Standard is already going into this direction, not even a year in? Because Vanguard originally did keep itself, I think, fair and balanced for the first year and a half. I feel like, if I remember correctly, Legion, I think, is where we started seeing some of the more insanely busted effects. Actually, maybe not even until Stride format. It's tough to sort of remember going back that far. But do you think, like, could this be a little bit of a dangerous direction where clans are going? Do you think there maybe is a desire to keep oracles so powerful? What do you think about that below? And as always, click to like, click to subscribe, and join me next week as we see what my boys, the Royals, will do with Monarch.